Uh, Hi, everybody. So today is February 23rd. We're going to review for our midterm exam, which is next week. So if you look at our Moodle page, what you will see is that I have pulled up a section on what our midterm exam is going to look like. The specifics of our exam are, we have a 2-hour exam. It will be 4 problems. It will be a problem from each chapter. And as you know, chapter 1 really did not have any problems associated with it, but we'll have something that has to do with a unit conversion problem, which is a substitute for chapter 1. Then a problem from chapter 2, a problem from chapter 3, and a problem from chapter 4. Even though each of those chapters builds scaffolds on the chapter before, they will be equally weighted. So the problem from chapter 4 will carry the same weight as the problem from chapter 3, and so forth. Your midterm exam, in a perfect world, I would love you all to be in this room at 1 p.m. a week from today to take your midterm, and that you could stay here until 3. If that is not possible, I have a lot of flexibility. You could start at noon and be done at 2. You could start at 12:30 and be done at 2:30. However it takes, but I have to have a block of time where you have allocated 2 hours of your time, because that's only fair to everybody. And so if you say, well, I don't have an hour and 15 minutes, I really can't do that because it's not fair to you. And in the scheme of things, everybody needs to have the same shot. Whether you take it or not is up to you, but we need to make sure that the playing field is level. All right. So having said that, what does the exam look like? 4 problems. Turn this thing down, excuse me. And if you look under this section, midterm exam, you'll see that I have review problems, okay? So up here, there will be the lecture that I'm giving today, which tells you what the exam, how it's going to be for you. Here's some written material, and then there will be four review problems. Now, if you can take your exam Monday at 1, just show up. If you need to take it earlier or later or Tuesday or Wednesday, you need to make an appointment with me, because it is worth 40% of your final grade, and it is proctored. And because it's worth 40% of your grade, I proctor pretty close. So in a lab class, it's worth less, but in a purely lecture class like this, the midterm and the final exam are the vast majority of your grades. So proctoring becomes extraordinarily important.
Is there an exception to this for taking it in the disability center?
Yes, as long as that would be something that you would make an appointment with me for. So you'll have to have a scheduled time, or they'll have to send me the scheduled time or whatever it is. And then if it's a 2-hour exam, if you're allowed time and a half, you'll be allowed 3 hours, all of that stuff. But it has to be proctored. So, and I will tell them that as well. So that just has to happen. So I will be on campus through Wednesday at 5, and then I will not be on campus Thursday or Friday of next week, but I will return to campus while hopefully you guys are all on spring break on Wednesday of the following week, and I'll be here Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of spring break grading your material. So the reason I tell you that is because if you don't get your homework turned in, or if you have something that is outstanding, I will not know until Wednesday. So I would, in a perfect world, you would have all 4 homeworks, the quiz, the midterm, all done by Wednesday of next week. However, in the real world, you actually have until Wednesday to get the homeworks and so forth in. There's not that flexibility with the midterm because it has to be proctored. So the exam has to be taken. If the student center, or if the disability center works with you and they want to give it to you on Thursday or Friday, that's fine with me. But it just has to, I just have to have it in time to grade it so that I can get your grades in. But if you're taking it with me Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. All right, so what do you get to bring in? Well, as it says here, you can bring in, here it is, create a formula sheet. A formula sheet is just a single sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11, written on in your own handwriting. You can write in it as small as you want. You can write in it on, you can put anything on it. You can put on word problems, you can put theories, you can put notes to yourself. However, you cannot photocopy anything and you can't have it in anybody else's handwriting. Part of the reason for doing a study sheet is to try to get everything to gel in your mind. So it's a good technique for going, oh, now I see what that meant. Now I know why I'm doing that. So for that end, I found this to be it's helpful to you in the exam, and hopefully will cut down on your anxiety in this exam, because a 40% exam without a study sheet just sounds wretched. But you know that you can write down the things you want, but also it's going to help you to internalize this stuff and to put it all together. You can also bring a non-internet capable calculator and any writing instruments, and I will provide the engineering comp paper. So for example, Jace, if I send this over to disabilities, you can bring your own engineering paper, but they just need to make sure that only the one sheet is written on. Okay, then when you turn it in, if you're taking it I do have the tab that you can submit it on Moodle, but I would prefer them to just put it in an envelope and send it to me, and I would prefer to just collect it from you when you're done. Okay, the only thing I really want to bring up with that is,
I would recommend that you tell them that, because they like to email and say.
yes, it'll probably be fine in this instance, but I'll definitely tell them. The other thing about this exam is, because it's a 2-hour exam, and I know people have busy schedules, if you make arrangements with me beforehand, if you want to take it in 2 1-hour blocks, that's also fine. Okay, but you need to tell me, because obviously if there's 4 problems, what do you think I'm going to do if you have 1 hour?
Give you 2.
You got, exactly, I'm going to give you 2 problems. So if I give you all 4, I have to grade you on all 4. Okay, so that's kind of the deal. No phone, no anything that will access the internet during the exam. Okay, aside from that, I grade things progressively more carefully. I don't grade harder on the midterm, but I am more careful. So like when I grade homework, I grade it very quickly. When I grade a quiz, I grade it more intensely, and I tell you what you've done that I need you to do differently, because I want you to do it differently on the midterm, which is really where the rubber hits the road. So I will grade all of those things. It's not just the answer, right? It's the process, because as engineers, one of the things that you're learning in this class, or that you need to be learning in this class, is not only how to do statics, but it's how to write stuff in a format that will be accepted by engineers. And that will be the people that you study with when you go to Colorado School of Mines or University of Wyoming or wherever you go. Also, then it gets even worse, believe it or not, when you graduate, because you'll go to work for somebody who may have an MBA or who may have a bachelor's degree in management. And when that happens, you will have to explain everything that you do to them. So that's what we're aiming at. So this paper and the steps that I've given you, the format, the homework template, are all the things that are going to be expected of you in addition to the content. And I usually tell my students something to this effect. It's kind of like if you are in English composition class and your instructor tells you to write an APA standard paper. You're not just graded on what you say, you're graded on the format of the paper as well. And in order to be taken seriously in an intellectual circle of whatever field you're in, that's just a requirement. Okay, so this is our way of writing. We don't write so much with words, we write with math and we write with pictures, and that's why we have to show our work. So every problem is more akin to an essay question than it is to a short answer question. Right? And I would never, if I could grade you with multiple choice tests, if I really felt like I could assess your progress with the multiple choice test, I would do it in a heartbeat, because it would be so much easier for me. But I just am totally, after all these years up here at the podium, can't make it happen. So we're not going to be doing it. All right. So having said that, the next thing I would like you to do is to get to the homework as far as you can. And I had just checked homework, and I looked at the homework submissions for chapter 3, which I'm in student mode. Sorry, I got to change back to my normal role, so I can see this. At that time, nobody had submitted yet, so get working on chapter 3 and then move on to chapter 4. So before I do that, I want to do, I'm going to quit recording so that I can keep this as a review for the midterm exam, and then I'll post this up to our page. But then we can talk about chapter 3 and chapter 4 in just a minute. So at this point, does anyone have any questions about the midterm exam? Structure, format, expectations?
The review problems be pretty similar to.
Yes. Yep. Philosophically, Ryan, and I think this is just a super great question, but and we really, part of the idea of how you do well in any class is sort of understanding the expectations of the instructor, right? So I think that's an excellent question. When I give exams to people, I do not expect a flash of insight. I think it's a stressful situation. And what I want to see is that you're proficient in the material. So I give review problems that are quite similar, at least. I mean, it's not the same numbers. It's not like cross out this number and put in 80 instead of 40, or put in kilograms instead of pounds of mass or something like that. But I mean, they're similar in structure, and they're also similar in complexity. Like when we do a chapter 4 problem or a chapter 3 problem, a chapter 4 problem, it will be a 3-dimensional problem. It will involve finding unit vectors. It will involve finding a force, a tension, or it could be a compression, but they're usually tensions at this level. And it will involve making sure that you use the right number of significant figures and units.
Yep.
So, all right, good question. Any others?
I'm just checking, will all of my feedback on a paper be in the place where I submitted it?
Yes, comments.
So your comments are where I'm in.
Yep. And on the quiz, I make more pointed comments than I do on the homework examples. So yeah, everything should be right there.
Comment I got on my quiz.
Is that what?
So the only comment I got on the quiz was that I missed units.
See, there you go. So that's just, yeah. So that is entirely possible. So sometimes they're pretty complicated and sometimes they're not, but.
I got it right on every other one. It was just at the last problem. I think I rushed in and just didn't put the units.
Yep. And those things happen, and the thing is, and once again, it harkens back to the idea of the fact that in engineering, we use numbers to describe the physical world. So a number without a unit is not right. It's just like, like when you're a little kid, I remember like one of my friends, I would say, how much money do you have? And they'd say 10, well, what does that mean?
I mean, coefficients you can have for unitless.
Yes. Oh yeah. Right. Dimensionless coefficients. Absolutely. But if you're talking about a physical quantity, money, length, I had this was an interesting one too. This is not about units as much as significant figures, but this was a science teacher, and we were working a problem over in South Dakota this summer about a mine shaft and what size of a panel you could get into the cage of this particular mine shaft. And so we had dimension here that was measured, length, depth, and height. Okay. And if you think about it, if the door is big enough, you can get something that would go from this corner to this corner, right? So it's really a 3-dimensional Pythagorean theorem. Well, the length was measured in tenths of feet. So like it was maybe, I'm making this up, it was tenths of feet, 12.1 feet. And the depth was maybe 7.2 feet. And the height was maybe 14.6 feet. Okay, and I'm making up these numbers. But as an example. So the diagonal distance would be the square root of 12.1 feet squared plus 7.2 feet squared plus 14.6 feet squared. And if you do that really simple calculation, you have 12.1 and we square it, add that to 7.2, also squared, and add that to 14.6, also squared. I did. Let's do it again. 12.1 squared plus 7.2 squared plus 14.6 squared. And that number is this. And if I take the square root of that number, I get 20.28324432 feet. Tell me what you think about this number.
You have. Significant values, because you're 7.2.
Yes. That's all you get. And so if your stick or whatever you're putting in here is longer than 20 feet, you are living on a prayer that it's actually gonna get in, because when the rubber hits the road, this doesn't matter at all. What matters is, will this stick go in the cage, or do I have to build something? Because what they do, if it doesn't go in the cages, they have to suspend it underneath the cage. And then you have to have somebody at the top and at the bottom to load it and unload it. And so it becomes a very much more complicated operation. So this science teacher had put these numbers in. She'd done this beautiful presentation. And as I was evaluating it for her, I said, these don't matter. And I explained to her just what I said to you. And she said, well, I just always think that when I put numbers in the calculator and it comes out of the calculator, that that's what the number is. And I said, your numbers never, your measurements will never get better by running them through a calculator. Never, not one single time. So I think she might have been safe calling it 20.2. I don't think she would have been safe rounding this to 20.3. And I think 20 is probably, you're banking on a lot of things happening for it to be 20. So those are just some things. But like when you go to town and your friend says, you know, your little kid, and you say, how much money do you have? And he says 10. That probably means 10 cents because we were little kids and it was a long time ago. However, I don't think he had $10. I don't think, I just don't. I mean, maybe now, but it just doesn't work that way. So you have to be really careful, but that's the reason why I am pretty careful with significant figures. It's not because of the math, it's because of what the math means to being an engineer.
So